Today we are going to talk about grief and loss. It's a very sensitive topic. I'm going to start slow. And I want you, while I'm talking, to recognize your thoughts. Everybody here has different beliefs and different way to process grieving. There is no good or bad. There is no right or wrong. I'm going to tell you my story and my relationship with death. I decided to start from my personal story and then what I learned as a teacher for so many years from other people. I had the privilege to work with parents that lost kids, and I think this is the worst and all kind of grief and loss in relationship with a partner and a parent. And I learned so much. I'm so grateful to learn so much through other people. But first, I want to start from my own personal story. And I want to start with my grandmother that I really, really, really loved. And I spent a lot of time with her. And she lost a son when she was younger, before I was born. Maybe I was a baby, like 2 years old, when my uncle died, but I don't remember him. And since then, she stopped living her life. She was there serving us, cooking, but never traveled around the world and never went to the beach with us. And Israel, it's beautiful to swim in the beach, and we did every weekend. So she stopped nourishing herself for many years after she lost her son. And then she lost also a father and her husband, my grandfather. And I remember me coming with her to the cemetery. And we had she worked a lot in the cemetery, planting all kind of beautiful flowers, cleaning the graves. And I remember as a child putting flowers and like really beautiful graves. And it was something she did few times a week. So our grave was really the best shiny graves in the cemetery. And I was thinking as a child, wow, I didn't know what to think, right? She really believed it's the end. She put photos of everyone in her living room, in her bedroom. I remember the photos of my uncle and my grandfather, great grandfather. And this is what I learned as a child, that the grave, this is it. You go to the grave and this is it. Later on, when I was around 18 years old, I dated someone that died in the army. And my grandfather that I loved, the other one, I was really, really connected to, died in the same month. But I remember that when my friend died, I took it so hard. I just went into bed. Basically, to then understand, I just went into depression. I didn't want to live anymore. I said, it can't be. Where are all his dreams? He wanted to be a dentist. Where are all his dreams? His life. He was so smart. We had many hours and hours of conversations about the future, about life. It's all there in the grave, in the stone. Where is it? And I was saying, if he cannot do it, if he cannot live life, I don't understand. What is the meaning of life? Of course, I'm coming from an atheist house. They didn't have God or something like that. I didn't have that. So I said, what is the meaning? Why I'm alive and he is not? I just met him on Friday. How can it be? And I was so confused. But looking back to this period of time, and it was long, that I didn't want to participate anymore in life, I remember, I think that the spiritual path started because I was starting to ask the big questions. What is the meaning? Why I'm here? What is death? Is it the God? If there is God, how it happened to him? So all the questions that people have, and so it gave me this gift. My mom took me to many places, to people to meet and help me. And I arrived to an acupuncturist in Jerusalem, probably was also a healer. He gave me acupuncture, and after half an hour, I was sitting and forgot everything, started to live life. And I didn't really, I was 18 years old. I didn't think about it. What was acupuncture? What happened there? And of course, after many years, I understood that what happened to me there, I went into meditation. I remember that my body was a little bit jumpy and I was not there, basically. And then when you're in meditation, you are here in the present. You live your life. But I didn't have this, part of me to analyze it. I was just happy again. It was really like magic. He was so happy also. I remember he was like, oh my gosh. And he told me you came like a flower almost dying with no air. And after half an hour, you are alive again. And he was surprised also. And my mom was surprised and everybody was happy. But we put it aside, continue my life as a teenager, going to college. And didn't think about it again, I have to say. And then I went to India. The India was calling me, traveling, and I had another mother. I have my mother, but I have a woman that was there all the time, the best friend of my mom. She gave me the first bath, and she was really sick. And I went to her before leaving to India, and I asked her, "Can I go? Are you sure?" And I remember this moment. She said, "I want you to go." Okay. Part of me knew that is the last time, but I wasn't there to process it. And I left with my father for the first few days. I'm in a train, and suddenly I see her. I feel her. And I wasn't, it's funny to say I wasn't spiritual back then. I didn't have this understanding. Most of you are deeper than I was. I didn't even think about it. I didn't believe in that. My mind was very, very connected to reality and what is. But I was sitting there and I feel her, and she's coming to me and she's talking to me. And I knew it. I knew that she died. And I stopped. I went down like in the next stop and I called my mom. And she said, yes, she died. And I said, wow, my mind said, you invented that. It can't be. No way. And but I knew it. It was real. So I couldn't really, listen to my mind. It was so real for me. And then after 8 months traveling in India, one day I see people in Pune jumping, look happy, with malas and flowers. And I came to one of them and I said, "Who is getting married?" And this man told me, "No, somebody just died." It blew my mind. What? You are dancing? You have flowers? How come? Okay. And it was a moment of not everybody have the same imprint like me, the same tradition and beliefs. And then my father came to visit me. I have two fathers. It's a long story. He came to visit me in Pune. And he is the one that encouraged me to learn finance. He's a very responsible person. He missed me and he came to visit. And I invited him to the ashram. We're sitting meditation together. In the evening, everybody sits with white, wearing white, and we're meditating. And then we took a flight to Udaipur. It's north of India. And I see that my father is not the same. He's usually very, very like talking about things. We have, it was fun to be with him, but I see that something is different, but I don't really understand what. We arrived to this beautiful hotel in the middle of a lake. And we closed the door, and suddenly my father, my strong father, collapsed on the floor, crying. It's the first time I saw my father cry. And he said, my mother died. And we're sitting there in the room. It's my grandmother that with the graves. I'm sitting there holding him like a baby, being with him. And I know that my father will get his recording after, so I'm sharing it also for him. And it was a beautiful moment. I remember the place he was sitting next to the door, and me, as his child there. He lost his mom, I lost my grandmother. And after this understanding, he needs to decide if to go and to fly back to the funeral or not, even though we just came. And I had a moment, I was so thankful to her. And I said, wow, thank you so much that I'm not experiencing it alone, that my father is here with me and I'm with him. And later on, I felt that there is a reason that it happened, that when we are together. he decided not to go back to Israel to the funeral, and he's the elder son, and this is so far from the father I knew, the responsible, the oldest, taking care of everyone. It was really it was surprised me. But something in India, when you're in the right zone, there is nothing except the present. It's so strong, the smells and the things, and it's extreme in a way for us coming from this Western world, that it's bringing you back to really the heart. You're in your heart, you're in your essence. And then he told me that he saw her in the meditation in Pune. And to hear that from my father, it was really a surprise, because it is not, we never talked about those things. And it was like, you saw her. And I knew because I had this experience before. And we felt she is with us. We went to Varanasi. Varanasi is the place that you burn the bodies. The Indian comes and they invest a lot of money to bring the bodies there and to burn the body. So we went, we took a boat, we're in the Ganges, and we did our own ceremony. It was so beautiful. And then we continued to travel. When I think about it today, it's like how we could do it. It was so natural to continue life together, to experience these things and the sadness, but to live life. And it was so easy there. It's so hard here sometimes, right? In the Western world with all these minds. We'll talk about it soon, how the mind processes grief and loss, and how the heart just, it's so natural for the heart. It's almost supposed to happen. Like we know how to grieve, we know how to feel sadness. So in Varanasi, they burn the bodies. And after the body like is already, burned a little bit and there is a skeleton, the elder son goes with a bat, kind of a bat, and start to hit his father on the head. We didn't do it, we didn't have her body, but we did another beautiful ceremony. And then all the kids are coming and asking, Father, Father, why do you hit grandpa on the head? And he's saying, I'm opening his skull that he can continue the journey. And this is the imprints that they have. The kids that experience that death is continuation of the journey. They're not afraid of death. You travel in India, you feel they're not afraid of death. The way they drive, the way they live. And there is a sense of freedom there with no fear. It's so nice not to be afraid of death and to experience that when you are there traveling. Still the mind is there and telling you what not to do. You are connected to facts, but there is no fear. Of course, when my father came back to Israel, many people, I assume, were not happy with his decision, and I'm not sure that he is happy. I hope that you are okay with the decision not to go back, because it was the right thing to do then. Sometimes the truth in this moment is the only thing that there is, and later on the mind is coming. And now I'm going to talk about that. Me working with people, hearing so many stories about people, the way they died, I really feel that it's always perfect. Many times we have thoughts about, if only I did that, why I wasn't there when he died, why I was there when he died. Well, it's always perfect. There is a reason. And it was good also for you. Some people cannot say goodbye from certain people from the family. They just can't, it's too hard. Other people needs somebody specific. The soul knows there is no good or bad or better. It's always perfect. I don't know if you when you were next to somebody that knew that he's going to die. But some of the people, not all of them, are so peaceful. They know they're going to die, but they're still loving. And sometimes even encouraging others, they just know. In Israel, many people died lately, and there is one story of I have two very, very good friends, dear friends, that lost their kid. And she called them before she died. She was already shot. And she was so kind and so loving. 8 minutes call they had with her. She knew she's going to die. They didn't. They're confused, right? But she knew, and she said, I love you and I love you all. So you start to wonder, right? That when you are close to death, and many times in meditation, you can experience a little bit glimpses, you're okay. The problem is us, that we are left behind. We can create so much suffering from something so natural. And now I'm going to talk about that. So I'm going to talk a little bit more, but again, I want you to bring yourself to then to ask questions or to share your story. It's always more interesting for me. I heard myself many times, and also it will make it more real. So grief is natural for the heart. Many times when we lost someone, we cannot grieve immediately. We need to be in their mind, in survival mode. We need to be there for others. We need to arrange things. And there is a period of time, different length of time that we need to be in our minds. For example, a woman that lost her husband and she has small kids, she cannot just fall apart. She needs to function, right? She needs to be there. So, and caretakers in general, they are more there for others, even though they are also experience loss. So there is a moment and a period of time that you need to be in survival mode. You are in survival mode. You need to know that everything is in place and everybody are okay. And after that, we need to start to connect to our heart. And the heart knows how to cry. And sadness is love. And you just connect to love and to all the beautiful times you had together. It can be grieving a relationship. Also sometimes when you separate from a partner, it's a kind of a death. You'll never see him again. You'll never hug him again. You will never had the moment you had before. It feels like death, even though you know he's still alive. So you have this sadness, and this sadness is so pure, so beautiful. You just let it takes you and you cry like a child when you really, all the body moves and the belly, and I did it a lot lately because many people died in Israel. And it's cleaning and it's purifying and it's so necessary and it's so natural. For me, it's so natural. I mean, lately, really, I just lay down and cry and cry and cry because it's so painful. And why not? It's natural. The problem is the mind. When the mind is afraid from our pain, is afraid to let you really cry, it can create many things in order to control. So the most common is guilt. This is a great opportunity to blame ourselves. What we did, what we didn't do in his life, in the relationship, in his last days. We can do it. It's so easy, right? Of course, we weren't perfect. But it's so easy for the mind to start to take and to go over, the script and see why you are not good enough, why it's your fault. And this is pure, unnecessary suffering that you do to yourself in the time that you are most vulnerable, in the time that you only need support and love and connection. But no, the mind will go into the guilt and it's so painful and you believe it. You believe it and you forget the wisdom that it was perfect as it is, that you can be angry and love in the same time, that you did the best you could. And maybe it wasn't the best, but it's the best you could. And about death, it's always perfect. Basically, the person that dies choose. The soul choose because he knows what is right for you. So you forgot, you just forget the wisdom and the mind is starting to blame you and it feels so bad. Who can relate to that? Raise your hand that I will not feel alone. Guilt after loss. Yeah. And also you can think about relationship that you had and you separated. Why do you do this? Why, if only, this is the worst. If only. So this is pure suffering, painful, that you cause yourself, and this is the mind. The reason the man is doing it is not because you're guilty or it's your fault. It's because he's afraid from the deep pain that is hiding inside. And sometimes the pain is not only connected to the loss. It's many other things. Another thing that the mind can do is to bring anxiety. It's so common that you have fear and anxiety after pain, experience of pain like that, because the heart wants to cry, wants to surrender into that. And by the way, this is the way to heal. You go deep, 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 deep into the pain, and then suddenly one day you see the sky. You see that everything is okay, because in this period of time when you're in deep, deep pain, you don't see reality as it is. If you're really in your heart, it's so painful, and you're not really connected. Part of you is sad, is depressed, is bleeding. You have an arrow in your heart and you're bleeding, so you're not exactly the same. You don't really see optimistic and happy and see that the sun is rising, and you cannot see the beauty many times. So the heart knows how to do it. It's like a tree. The tree sprouts from the ground and then growing and becoming a big, beautiful tree, the tree of relationship. And then slowly, slowly, the trunk becomes hollow and rotten. And then it goes back to the soil. So natural, the circle of life. Everything will end. So the heart knows how to do it, to go deep into the soil and then go into gestation, going inside and being with this sensation. So intimate. It's so important. It's so beautiful. You can see the beauty in it until you're okay. And it's a lake of pain. It's not endless. Also, there is another thing: the mind is afraid to collapse. We will not collapse if we cry. We can go in and out. We can live our life, and then now it's time to cry, and then you come back and live your life. It's not only that. We are so strong. The mind can always come back if you need to work. So all the fears is preventing us from experiencing grief in a natural and beautiful and healthy way. So the mind can bring fear and anxiety about life. The mind can bring guilt, criticism. The mind can also disappear. We call it like ignoring your feelings. Suddenly the money is not there, and people can go into addictions if they don't process pain and sadness. For example, there will be hours and hours in the phone, numbing their pain, or going into real addictions of alcohol or drugs even, or food. I met a woman, I love her, and she lost her 19 years old son in a bike accident. And I met her 4 years later, and she said in 1 year I gained 20 kilograms. I don't know in pounds, you're in pounds. 20 kilos in 1 year. It's a lot. Because she didn't cry. She just ate and ate and ate. So this is also a protective mechanism. I will, just push it aside. Instead of grieving, I will eat. Not consciously, but it's a manipulation out of fear of the mind, like not letting you feel and letting you eat, encouraging eating, or letting you just be stuck with the screen for hours. It's more safe than to feel. So this is very common as well. Some people are starting to think they're crazy because they have repetitive thoughts, or they are trapped in the same thoughts again and again, and the mind is saying you're crazy. It's all because they didn't really grieve properly. Again, the body knows. The body knows how to give birth, and if you gave birth, you know what I mean. And the body knows how to feel sadness and deep pain and loss. But the mind creates so much unnecessary suffering, all out of fear. Also, we lost trust. I lost trust in God, universe, Allah. So when people don't, the Great Spirit, when people don't believe that there is something else in the, mystery, in time, in nature, anxiety can come about the long-term future. And this is something to heal as well. So we talked about many problems that we create, and now we're going to move into how to deal with it. And I always say it's not that difficult. because the body and the heart is stronger than the mind. It's real. It's here, it's present, it takes space. But the mind sometimes feels bigger and stronger than the heart. But the good news is that it's only in the form of thoughts. It's only thoughts. Guilt is thoughts, criticism, thoughts. Fear, I'm thinking about what will happen. Some people are afraid from their own death or afraid that somebody else will die. It's only thoughts, right? So if it's in the form of thoughts, why we just can't sit and tame our mind without being angry even at the mind? The mind is afraid. Imagine a really young child inside you. So I don't know if we go back to your childhood when the mind was born. The body is born first, and the heart is there, and then later the mind comes. First time you felt fear in your life, you felt loneliness. You understood you need to take care of yourself. Happened to me when I was 4. So imagine when I started to experience all those feelings and things when I was 18, for example, losing my friend. I had a child inside me, 4 years old, that was really, really scared. They really don't know how to deal with big things like that, you know? Um, and all of us has this inner child. And if you don't connect to it, so book with me time alone and we'll do it. We'll find your inner child. You understand that you have a really, really young part inside you. And then when something so big like that is happening, like losing a father or a partner or a child, this young part have no idea how to do it. It's overwhelming. It's just too much. And then it creates all this mess with guilt and fear and criticism and addictions. And so the only thing we can do is to help, right? To help the mind, to lead the mind, to calm the mind, not to let the thought come in. We create this mess. If you blame yourself, stop blaming yourself. Understand it was perfect as it is. If you didn't, you had a complicated relationship with a person you lost, a parent or a partner. Of course, if you separate, it's always messy. Just learn from it, heal it. Don't judge yourself. Regrets, it's the worst also. Understand that this now is an important part of your life of growth. You can grow, you can heal, you can process, you can cry. It's an opportunity for inner growth, for inner work. And then when you think about it in a peaceful place, in a really peaceful place, you understand things differently. You zoom out and you understand things. And also when you're really peaceful, you understand that those thoughts are not real. It's not real. It's so young, it's so small, so old in time. So in order to connect to our heart, we just want to sit meditation, to tame the mind, to clean the mind from unnecessary suffering, and to let the heart do whatever it knows how to do the best, to cry and to love. The heart knows how to do those two things. I see people sometimes coming to visit people that experience loss and they don't know what to say. They don't know what to say, especially, by the way, if it's a child. Don't say. There is nothing to say. If you say too much, also the other can feel like feeling I need to help you, or you bring the person that's supposed to be in grief into their mind. When you see a child sad, crying, what do you all do? What will be the first thing you will do? The natural thing. Yes, Ella knows because and she hugs a lot. You just hug them. You don't start to, I don't know even what, people say, I'm here for you. You're here, so be here, hug me, cook for me something, and help me clean the dishes. I don't know, do something that I will feel you love me, that you see me. It's all words, and people say the same words again. I'm here if you need. I need. Assume that I need right now and just be there. So also this is a message of you learn just to do. and to be real, and to show love and not talk about it, because it can be so tiring to hear the same, I'm sorry for your loss, I'm sorry for, it's so tiring, and it's repetitive, and it's not touching the heart. There is no impact there.